our, I think, 86th episode on Thrivecast. And today with me, I have Hank Azarian. Let's not get confused with Hank Azaria. He's made it very amply clear about the entity relationships on that particular front with me. Our today's topic is AI visibility, primarily targeted for CMOs. And the big question that we want to go get an answer on is: should CMOs cut their SEO budget to add AEO and GEO related services on top of it, or are they one and the same? Just to quickly introduce Hank, I first came across Hank on the Edward Show, where he and Edward were geeking out on almost about an hour on various SEO lessons from Hank working with about 5,000 odd publishers, and how TMZ won the news box, by updating breaking news. And lo and behold, he started talking a lot more about the various tactical aspects of does LLMs.txt actually make sense or not. He touched and defunked many myths on that particular call. So here we are trying to take a slightly different approach in this particular episode. We are not going to go deeper into the practitioner's view, but slightly one or two levels higher up on whether this even makes sense, whether AEO, GEO even makes sense, and is that a new line item or is that part of the same budget? So before we get started, Hank, I think I want to maybe set the stage a little bit. We have been working with many CMOs, and uh, they have been getting offers from various SEO agencies, some of their own, and they're saying, "Hey, we'll do additional AEO work for you or GEO work for you,"
Mhm.
and they are actually very confused. Some of the CMOs told us that we used to rank number one on Google earlier, and now there is, our board slides are not saying anything at all, right? So it's very, very confusing. Is AI visibility the first touch point? That we should throw away the SEO budget and work only on the AI visibility part of it. So with Hank would love to go deeper into that part of it, but before we do that, maybe take a moment to introduce yourself for the audience who may not necessarily know you yet.
Of course. Thank you, GP. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on the show and have this conversation. I'm Hank Azarian. I am a 20-year practitioner of growth strategies, predominantly around SEO. I've worked everywhere from startups as initial hire one, who took the company to a million run rate, all the way to, as GP said, managing SEO across the raft of properties of over 5,000 publishers. So I've gotten a really interesting um, first row seat into how SEO has evolved over the last 2 decades, and how I've had to pivot my kind of practice in order to keep up. And happy to share some of the ideas and some of the things that I've picked up along the way.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love, we briefly talked, last week, and I'm so excited to go through, the ringers on this one. So, Hank, maybe let me start off with the first question. What changed? I think that's a big question around as Google introduced AI mode, and more buyers are starting to search on or doing research on ChatGPT. Is what's the moment that you could reckon where the first touch point has moved away from the 10 blue links, where all of the SEO was essentially focused on getting the brand on the first page ranked, positioned well, to now they're not even being visible. So, in your mind, what is the change that the industry is right now going through, and why is there so much confusion about it?
I think that's a great question. And where I usually start looking at this is we have this uh, kind of optimal view of what the buyer journey should look like. And it should look like a conceptual, consequential funnel, if you want to think about it that way. So a consequential funnel means that we start with discovery, then we go to evaluation, then we have some level of validation where we look at reviews and expert findings, all the way to when we finally make an action of making that purchase. And at the end of that, we probably create some sort of return funnel to kind of increase relationships and loyalty and create repeat kind of partnerships. What's changed so much now is in the old model, we assumed that our website was the point of discovery. Everything would start with somebody coming to us first,
Hmm.
and we would get the first chance to set the table. And what we're seeing in reality with users now is that they don't follow a funnel, they actually hop back and forth
Hmm.
between discovery, evaluation, and validation. In fact, they might discover your brand in a validation phase of one of your competitors, and doing that, then hop back to you. So, as kind of the both the structure and the walls between these funnel phases have dissolved, we are in a point where it starts not making as much sense to assume that the website and SEO by relation is the core way people are going to discover your service or product, right? So
Yeah, so I think maybe let me maybe we'll go a little deeper on that one. So Hank, are you essentially saying that the old funnel is dead, meaning the whole discovery, evaluation, look at the commercial, intent, the entire funnel now is out the door, and
yeah, I mean, good.
is that what you're saying?
Yeah, what Google calls the messy middle problem is
Hmm.
what we're getting now. Essentially, we have a compression of the funnel into a system that still covers a lot of those functional goals, but doesn't do it in a very neat channel by channel system that we can follow. So for me, the question is not really uh, essentially become a question where I don't really think about allocating by channel. I
Hmm.